Hello there. My name is Wilbert T. Sass, and I live in Omaha, Nebraska. And I'm speaking to you today about CBD marketing. Um, you might be aware, whoever sees this, about the hot CBD market. And this mostly comes about because our president, a while back, signed a new farm bill that included provisions for growing agriculture hemp. And it so happens that agriculture hemp is a primary source of the elements of the micro elements of the plant to extract. I can't say the word hard. Cannabinoids, something like that. But it's the little three-letter uh, uh, meaning for it is CBD. Now, if you don't know what CBD is, it's far too lengthy a subject for me to go into in this video because it's got a lot of moving parts to describing and the definition of what it is. Okay, so you need to do your research on it. You just CBD, just search CBD in the Google search engine or whatever search engine you want to use. I use Google because I think it's probably one of the best. And in terms of in-depth information, content, and keyword access, and so on and so forth. But it takes a little bit of reading to get up on CBD, but there's plenty of information there on your search for you to quickly get updated as far as what we're talking about when we talk about CBD. So I'm going to assume that people either will do that research related to this video or that they already know what it is. And I want to speak both to consumers of CBD and also people who sell CBD, which is retailers. And companies, the traditional supply chain starts with in the CBD industry, the hemp industrial hemp industry starts with the growing of it, and it's legal in quite a number of states. The only reason why it's not legal in the other states is because they haven't moved on the president's farm bill in terms of that particular segment of it to legalize or to authorize pilot programs for the growing and processing of industrial hemp and extracting CDB oil from the plant. And that's what most of the consumer products are CBD oil that has been extracted from the plant. And then, of course, there's other ways to package it. You can package it in little in capsules and different forms. Okay, now it's just from my research, what I find is the oil is probably the most used CBD oil, product because it is faster acting. That's it. Maybe the exception might be the vape, where you actually smoke the CBD product. It comes a little. I've never used one of those vapes, but from what I understand, there's a little capsule that has the vape whatever it is you're going to produce the smoke with, and a little vape thing heats it and creates a vapor, and you inhale that, and then that if that CBD in that little insert that gets into your bloodstream that way, is similar to smoking the weed, which a lot of people are familiar with. But I personally, I don't care for that approach, the vape CBD approach, because first of all, a lot of people are turned off by that. Second, I'm a salesman, I'm a marketer, so why would I want to try to move an idea related to marketing and sales that a lot of people were turned off by? It wouldn't make any sense, would it? So and make no mistake about it, that's what this video is all about: is marketing and selling CBD. And the reason why I'm so excited about it is because quite typically what I see in the industry, since I've been researching it, and by the way, I own several, almost I would say, uh, more than a couple dozen .coms that start off with the words or letters CBD. So I've plugged into the keywords. I've associated the CBD with the word drone also, which I have, as you can see there on the banner behind here, the dronebrand.com. Is one of my drone URL.com registrations, and I have several others also. But this is all in an effort to take advantage of the people's memory, familiarity with with a drone, with the word drone, as it's become so familiar and popular in terms of what people know about the word and being familiar with it, and just as CBD has. So the two keywords just make sense to use them in your URL if you're trying to promote a particular viewpoint or idea related to CBD or drone for that matter. So the thing is, with my program now, I'm a long time, lifelong salesperson. Started out selling when I was 8 years old. I'm 79 today, so that gives you an idea. Being in sales 71 years, and as a grade school kid, I sold box greeting cards in my neighborhood, door to door. And then when I was in high school, I sold cookware, stainless steel cookware, and I sold china and cutlery to young working girls. And when I got out of high school, I went to work for a national company. I was able to slide in under the radar. I'll let you decide what that means. And I got hired because I put down that I'd worked for a housewares company in my resume, and which I was referring to the time I spent selling stainless steel cookware and cutlery in China during my high school years. And so the divisional manager of the company, national company that hired me in Omaha, Nebraska, where I had moved from Norfolk, which was my hometown, Norfolk, Nebraska. He hired me and put me to work, and so on and so forth. So that's how I was under 20. I was 19 or something like that. So normally he wouldn't have hired me if I had, but he thought I was older than 19. I'll just put it that way. And so anyway, I'm just only reason I'm bringing that out is because I've been around sales all my life. Okay, and I got a pretty good track record. I mean, if you're in sales and you're doing anything, you're working at it hard, which I did. You're bound to make some mistakes. I mean, well, first of all, you're human, so you're going to make mistakes. Secondly, the more you try, the more chances there are for you to make mistakes, and therefore your odds of making a mistake go up if you're a hard charger. And the key, though, is to keep learning from your mistakes and keep minimizing them and keep keep developing an approach where you're going to eventually make less and less and less and less. And I started out with national companies, and I ended my sales career in a kind of a two-phase fashion, going from working for the very best to the very best, only the very best limited down to one state, and the very best limited back up to 5 states. And I won't bore you with all the details there, but the point is that in both of those cases, which started out in the late 1980s and went through the 1998 area. So that gives you an idea of the number of years I was ending my active on the street sales career, and how long I'd been active and on the street selling since I started in 1948 and ended in 1998. So that gives you a picture of the kind of experience level in sales or in marketing that I have. And the reason I mentioned marketing is because uh, I've taken charge of national sales development organizations and developed them from scratch. Regional sales organizations developed them from scratch, and statewide and local citywide sales organizations and developed them from scratch. Uh, and you learn a lot doing those things, and that all started out with that first second company I went to work for, as it was a national company also, and I was hired as a regional sales manager, and which I had, which I worked in one state, and I was there doing that job for uh, a couple of years, and then the higher ups, the divisional sales manager, regional sales manager, came out and offered me a district sales manager's job, which included 5 states of the 4 states above the one state that I was covering, and with the mandate that I was to create salespeople in those other 4 states, teach them how to do what I'd been doing in that one state. So that was a tip off that I was doing a good job in that one state, and they wanted me to repeat it, but through other people. And so that's how I got into regional selling, developing salespeople, training them, and getting them to do the right things uh, through uh, just being an example. And I never said go out and do this. I always went out with them and I did it, and then they could see what I was doing. It's a lot easier for people that way because they don't feel like somebody's trying to tell them what to do. I mean, they see you doing it, and they see it's easier the way you do it, and so they say, well, I can do that. And so there you go, you're off to the races. And that's the best way to get people performing in sales, is just show them how to do it. That's almost a lost art today because nobody really knows how to sell anymore today because of the internet and so forth, and because of our change of culture and how people look at work and work habits and work patterns and so on and so forth. And that's another story which I'm not going to go into on this video. But the bottom line, what I'm talking about is the only really way to get sales success is to go out and talk directly to the people you're going to sell to. Now, you might think that's kind of strange, but you see, there's all different kinds of categories of applying that rule. It may be that you're going to call on corporate central purchasing offices, although I decry that. But that may be what I'm talking about when I say direct sales. But it doesn't work very well in that category, subcategory, because there you got to have an appointment, and you got to go in, you got to sit down and wait to get in to see this person, and blah blah blah. And typical, they got the hammer because you want to get your products, whatever you're selling, you want to get that into that particular business company, inventory, warehouse, whatever it is. And so you're at a disadvantage. You're there to sell him, and he's there. He'll buy if he wants to, and if he don't want to, he won't buy or can't buy, or whatever the reason is, he's not going to buy. And so I never did really like that, and never did do it too much, although I have done it. And but what I like to do, and the way I started out the selling, was just like when I was selling greeting cards. Walk up the door, knock on the door, whether it's a residence or a business. And if you're going to residence, it's probably a good idea to have an appointment set up ahead of time. And that's another whole series of videos to how do you do that and do it successful. It's certainly not the way it's being done today. But anyway, there's a way to do it and do it right and get it done. So you always got an appointment when you're headed out the day, but you're going directly to the person you're going to sell to, whatever person that is. And in this video, I'm talking about selling local independent business owners who are selling all kinds of things in all kinds of different retail establishments, categories of retailing. Think of the telephone directory, the old thick telephone directory that was listed all the businesses in it, and up on the top page it would always have the category, or I think it was over the right hand corner up at the top, and it'd have the category. Like if it's on the first page, why it might say something like animal shelter, or something like that. And then every time a category came into, after you run out of all the animal shelters, then you come to the next one that started with an A. That listing of those businesses, and if you were in a city, it listed them all that way, all the businesses that were in that city. So when you're out selling and you're out on the street and you're selling businesses, I never did like the idea of just selling only certain kinds of businesses. I don't know why. It didn't make sense to me. I mean, I've done the other kind where you only go out, you go on the street and you only sell certain kinds of businesses in that plethora of that means a lot uh, of businesses that come out of the directory. Okay, so but because the reason why I like to sell them all, that made sense to sell them to. I mean, obviously, if you're going to go, there's engineers that are listed in the Yellow Pages directory. I mean, the telephone directory, and that Yellow Pages words might be protected, and I have no association with that particular company print in any way, shape, or form. There's my disclosure. Okay, so I just misspoke. I should have said business telephone directory. But anyway, uh, what if you're out selling something to retailers, you're not going to go in and try to walk in the door of some engineer's office because well, he's not a retailer, okay, but he's right down the street as you're going. But when you're selling the way I like to sell, I like to go right down the street and call on all retailers that have a brick and mortar business. Now, a lot of those businesses have internet businesses today also that are connected with their brick and mortar that you see on the side of the street up from the curb. And that's great. So, because you can help them in that regard also with my business plan. But that's related to CBD. By the way, that's what this video is about. You remember? I'm getting around to it. You just can't spit these things out in 6 or 8 sentences. I mean, not if you know what you're doing. And you can't talk so fast that people can't understand what you're saying, which seems to be in vogue today. I don't know about you, but if you ever call businesses today, when they answer the phone, they don't train the person. Same way if you have to talk to voicemail, the people that have voicemail extensions, the company doesn't seem to care whether the people that are representing them who when they call you back, you leave a message to have them call you, or the people that answer the phones for the company, they don't seem to care whether the people that are calling in or the people that are sending out voice messages, uh, uh, if the people they're sending them to or the people that are calling in can understand what they're saying. Because when I mean, 90% of the time, all businesses all the time. And 90% of the time, the people that answer, they go, just like that. Now, there's no way in God's green earth. Now, there's exceptions, of course. There's always exceptions. But for the most part, and I mean, I think 90%, you're just really lucky if you can catch the person's name, even, or even if they give it, or what they say, because there seems to be a trend that it seems to be you're unless you talk fast, you're not really hip. You're not really up on things. I don't know where that started, but I noticed that I started slipping into the culture here a few years back when people thought it was really cool, to be able to just rattle off the fast. You can't listen to your newscasters and see what I'm talking about. They just and you just have to there's no such thing as a gated modulating delivery, voice delivery anymore. It seems like there used to be, where the whole purpose of speech is to be able to understand what the person's talking about to you, right? So there's my 2 cents worth, and if it's worth anything to you, well, take it to heart because it's important. Communication is all about understanding. And if you don't understand, if you don't speak in a way that people can understand what it is that you're saying to them, well, then you just well save your breath, right? You just as well go live on the government or something because you really don't understand what's going on wherever you work. Okay. If you can't get that through your head, that simple little start out routine that when you talk, slow your speech down so people can understand you. And most people are really going to appreciate that. Okay. And since the pot, and I might as well get a little promotion in here for the geriatric crowd, which I'm a part of. I mean, whether you like it or not, the world we live in is an aging world, and especially in the USA, people are getting older and older and older, and people, when they get older, tend to slow down in a lot of areas. And one of them is, it's easier for them to understand if the person that's talking to them doesn't try to talk so fast that you can't understand them. And when there's more of those kind of people and a growing number of those kind of people around, and most of them are consumers, some of those are business owners and so on and so forth, and have people working for them that are in that category. So it's just a word to the wise to speak in a way that is gated, that is modulating, and is varying in speech rapidity. You don't want to sit there and talk like this so that you don't ever modulate your voice, but you do want to be understood. So it's better if you modulate your voice and you're able to be understood a little better so you can pack emphasis into certain areas of your communication phrases that people can then understand better and get the point. So that is my second 2 cents worth, maybe the seventh. I don't know. Either way, I don't apologize. So back to CBD. Uh, when I started researching this several months ago now, I realized that CBD is a particular product that is in widespread demand and use, and will grow to a product that probably half of the population is going to use it as soon as everybody kind of gets used to the idea that it's new. And there's a lot of people that are holding off and they're watching it because there's not a lot of actual credible evidence testing results by accredited universities and so on and so forth of any particular long-term effects that are harmful of the use of CBD. However, most of the experts that have looked at it so far can't find anything in the elemental micronutrient makeup of the plant itself that has any kind of possibility for detrimental effects on the human biological body or on the human life thinking person that you are. Did you catch that? I don't know if you did or not. But see, you got two of them things you got to be considered about when you're talking about eating something or taking some kind of oil into your biological body. That's you're going to eventually get circulating through the subatomic uh, 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 nerves of your thinking area of your particular organ where all of the thinking electrical operation is taking place, which is electricity power has been converted from. Now I'm talking subatomic. Come on, I mean you're not plugged into the wall, so you can think. But you eat food, and it's eventually digested and converted by the miracle of digestion into energy so you can think. That's why you have to eat. It's best to eat a balanced diet because the more balanced it is with the correct amount of things that the human body can deal with, assuming a normal human body digestion system is so that you're providing the power, subatomic power, to for the brain to function. Okay, and with proper sleep and blah blah blah, you are able to think in a way that is beneficial and not detrimental to yourself based on what you've been sticking in your eat hole. So there you go. CBD has not been so-called accredited, and you wonder about some of the things that the FDA has approved because there's a lot of, at least anecdotal stories out there that you're able to find more easily today because of the interstate than ever before that aren't exactly supposedly cracked up to be what the FDA has been saying they're approved. Uh, and the only reason why I really get a kick out of when I see these new pharmaceutical ads on TV. When they after they tell you how great it is, then they tell you the side effects that you might experience, and they go through a long list. And it sounds like the stuff's going to kill you. It might, and yet it's approved to have prescriptions written on it. So I'm just saying to you that take a level objective approach. Don't go subjective and don't go negative on the whole deal, but kind of hold your points and hold your conclusions until you know more. In the meantime, if most of the experts are saying, and the reason why I'm excited about it personally is because of all of the particular uh, reports that I have personally experienced from people who use CBD. And I talk to the people themselves. I'm not talking about the stuff you read on the internet because that could be fake. All of it could be fake. I doubt that it is, but it could be. So while I read with intent, interest, and I glean from what I read on the internet, I don't take it as gospel. And what that means is the absolute truth, in case you don't know what the gospel is, because that's an English word. So I don't take it as absolute gospel. But when I talk to somebody over a period of time and different people from all different walks of life, which I make it a point to do when I'm trying to learn from people about a particular subject or experience that they have, And people are really willing to tell you and help you along if you just tell them what you're doing and why you're asking them the questions you're asking them and so forth. And you respect them, their privacy, and you don't know them and they don't know you, so they're not concerned about. Although there's some of this business of surreptitiously, surreptitious, surreptitious, uh, uh, spying on people, I guess, is how is being surreptitious. And that is to say, maybe you're videoing them while you're talking to them and recording them and so forth. But why would you do that? If you're an honest person and all you're trying to do is learn from their experiences, the answer is you wouldn't. You'd only do that if you lived under a rock where there isn't any light. So if you're that kind of a person, see, so the bottom line is here, I'm pretty excited about CBD, and I see one of the greatest opportunities that I've ever seen because I started out a while ago saying that before long, about half of the people in the United States are going to want to use it. And that means that's a lot of people. You're talking about tens of millions, and they live in every kind of small city, big city, in between city, and they're easily accessible from the internet. And so, in my selling experience, I put together a business plan, and it works for local independent business owners that are in all kinds of categories of retail businesses that appeal to consumers in those areas where the consumers live and where they work. And it's all organized. My business plan is all organized by zip codes and carrier routes. And the reason for that is so that when business owners subscribe to my business, uh, when my marketing, advertising, membership associates business plan, which they have to be approved to get in, because I only sell one in a zip code or carrier route, and I subcategorize restaurants. So if there's more than one of a category in a zip code, they have to be in different carrier routes. And the reason I do that is so that advertising can be effective and efficient in the way I have designed my program. However, all other advertising is totally ineffectual. Is not designed to get customers for people who buy the advertising, but just the opposite. It's designed to create competition for the business owners that buy the particular advertising that's available today. I call it specialty advertising. And that started a number of years back when advertisers realized that they could make more money if they would sell more advertisers. They didn't care. I mean, it used to be, you never saw one brand of car ad right after another. You never, in other words, they weren't out hell bent on creating competition. So between their advertisers, so they could sell more advertising like they are today, that's all that's going on there. I mean, and they do it. It's in plain sight. They don't even have enough integrity to try to hide the fact that that's what they're doing. In other words, advertising today creates competition. It doesn't eliminate competition like advertising is not supposed to eliminate, but it's supposed to give you an edge on your particular category of business that you're advertising towards consumers who are interested in the products that you're selling in that category. Now, I realize there's a lot of words that are linked together there, and they all have meaning, and there's a lot to the way that I link those words together and those thoughts together. But maybe you have to listen to the video again to understand why it's important to link those thoughts together, link those words together, so you come out with a conclusion that makes some sense when I say my program's exclusive. There's no other kind like my program. And the reason I can say that with all confidence is that part of my program is boomerang membership income. And what that simply means is that I give my advertisers who are exclusive and only one per zip code or carrier route or subcategorized, have to be in two different if there's the same subcategorized in the same zip code. Um, I give them a written agreement that says all of the money that all of my members invest into my program advertising business plan for their benefit to get new customers, which is the theme, the tagline for my marketing, advertising, membership, associates business plan. And the brand is Z Mama USA. It's available throughout the United States, all zip codes, all carrier routes. And it is the end of all. It's the end of all ideas related to advertising. That stands for Z, and the MAMA stands for marketing, advertising, membership, associates. So ZMama USA.com. And the local independent business directory internet is localpagedeals.com, because every member who is organized in the zip code or the carrier route that they are a member, approved member, is listed according to zip codes. So that, why do you suppose that is? Well, because all consumers live in zip codes, don't they? And all of them work in zip code locations. So if you want to target them and reach them, and so it's easy for them to find, they want to look up where they can get my special offers with my business plan through my approved retailers in their zip code where they live. You're going to want to go to localpagedeals.com and find your zip code and find out the retailers that are approved that are offering you things you can't get from any other retailer in that zip code where you live. It's exclusive. The benefits, I call them progressive pricing or progressive savings coupons that are offered through my approved business owners. That and progressive means that it's on the enduring loyalty awards program, which everybody hears so much about rewards programs today. All these companies are pushing their particular awards plan when it's supposed to be better than everybody else's, blah blah blah. Um, in my case, I simply do what they can't do, and that is offer an increasing discount every time a consumer goes to one of my approved retailers, starting with the first purchase, going to the second purchase, going to the third purchase, going to the fourth purchase, where they get the fourth time a maximum discount. And that's continuous. Each time they go, the discount gets greater, so that by the time they get around to four, if you average them all out, you've got the greatest discount of those four purchases. And then guess what? It starts all over again. So it's just continuous, isn't it? It's perpetual. As long as you keep doing business. Now, look, I'm not talking about selling consumers to buy anything from a particular business. I'm talking about consumers that are already spending money in those categories. All right. So for my members, what I'm up to and what my program is all about is not sell advertising so it makes it harder for all the people that advertise businesses to get customers, and continually make it hard, make competition greater and greater and greater, which the advertising people that sell advertising, they love that. I'm not about that. What I'm about is for my members to create a situation and a consumer experience where they see it in their best interests economically to forget about where they've been buying a particular category of product and go to my business members who are selling to them at a lower price, and will continue to give them maximum discounts that the other ones can't offer them, as long as they keep buying from my from the exclusive a business owner in their zip code, where they work or where they live in that zip code, as they're listed on that local page deals internet website. So it's easy to find them, and you know the categories. So if you're whatever product you're now spending money on, or when you need to spend money, you can go there and you know that you're going to get a better discount than anybody else. And like I said, the consumers might be unaware, but they're not stupid. In other words, if they've been spending $12, let's say for a pizza, or because they go to a certain place, and they get that same pizza for $9 over and over and over, why? And it's just as good. In other words, you understand when these pizza outfits or whatever kind of food you're talking about, the restaurants, the franchises, the other ones that advertise, they're gonna say things about their food that makes you think, or the goal is to make you think that this is the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, you can't get this anywhere else. Well, baloney. I mean, taste buds, you certainly are discriminatory, and you can tell onions from sugar. But the point I'm getting at is if you're saving $3 a pop on every pizza you buy, and it tastes good to you. I mean, let's put it this way: you can eat it, and you enjoy eating it. And why wouldn't you want to save that $3 every time you bought a pizza? Well, the answer is you would want to, and you'd stop paying 12, and you'd start going where you can pay 9. Now, the reason why I'm so confident about that difference in price between my uh, authorized retailers and the competition in the other categories of each category of mine is because most of the business, 50% of the business in most categories, is done by franchises today. And most people don't ever stop to think about the fact that a franchise business overcharges customers by at least 30%. And the reason they do is because they've got a contract. The franchisee's got a contract that says they got to pay that extra 30% out to the franchise company before they pay their operating costs and their fixed costs and their very varying costs and get a profit. So the local independent business owners, the other 50% of the businesses and categories that are competing with those franchises, uh, because of the fact that franchises have only really been developing that 50% of the market since the 50s, which isn't that long when you think of history of business in the United States. So many of those business owners today who are looking at the franchise business saw it grow up and be successful. And so they think, without doing the research or even thinking of the possibility that their menu might be price gouging their customers, they just go along with the fact that they think, well, they got all the business, so they must be doing everything right. So their menu must be as low as it can be, and still make a profit. So that's the way I better structure my menu. And so there you go. Everybody today is overpricing and price gouging consumers to the point that it works out to about 30%. Now, the reason why it's so high is because most of the businesses today, whether they're local, independent, non-franchise, or franchises, most of the businesses today, if you'll notice, has been promoted by the commercial real estate industry to put up businesses and buildings and lease businesses to business space to business owners in areas where there's high consumer street traffic, which is called AAA real estate. Well, when you start dividing down the cost of that, and you get down to the fact that somebody's got to pay the rent for that particular building and throw off a profit for the people that invested in that commercial real estate property, the rents are sky high. I mean, you look at these buildings, and And you see that they've got the franchise, especially in the fast food business. You see them on AAA real estate, commercial real estate locations, and you got to say to yourself, well, their rent has got to be enormous. And then on top of that, the franchise demands by contract that the franchisee has to rent a particular building that the franchise says is going to look like this, and it's going to be constructed this way, then this design, and on this kind of a real estate property where there's a certain amount of traffic because it has to do with the amount of population they sell on the advertising location in a zip code of the consumers that are within a radius of where that store is. Okay, that's called an address franchise, exclusive. But exclusive it's not, because you get down the street a little further, as you know, and you see another same brand, and they've got another little corral of customers that they allow that business franchise to operate in primarily. Okay, it's just that they can't exclude people from other areas going into that store, but primarily their primary consumer base is that population that lives within that. That's why when you can order direct mail today and so on and so forth, calling leads, calling consumers, you have an option of being able to get a list that's within a mile of the center point. That's so many customers live within that mile. Well, that's the same concept as the advertising location franchise today. Didn't used to be that way. When you bought a franchise, I bought 10 Dairy Queen franchises when I was about 35, 36 years old in 1969 in Omaha, Nebraska. And the reason I got 10 of them was because they had bought the franchise back from the guy that owned it that had 3 counties when they originally sold it to him. When they originally started selling franchises way, way, way back in the 40s and 50s, when they sold a franchise, they sold a county, a whole county, and they let the franchisee develop as many stores in there as they wanted to, okay, that he could make money on. So that's when they were going along, and they finally realized after their franchise built so many stores, they got income adjusted, and they didn't want to grow anymore, so they stopped developing stores in that county or multiple county franchise. And well, then they woke up. The franchise company woke up and realized, wait a minute, if all of them keep doing this, our income's going to go stale, because the only way we get more income is if there's more franchises reporting more sales to us that they're paying us a percentage on. And so they had to really scuttle and panic back to get purchase back these multi-county, and they worked with lawyers and the government to pass new franchise laws that allowed them to do that. And that's another whole story. But believe me, I learned the hard way, and that all took place during the time I owned franchises. And the reason I got 10 was because they were all address franchises that were purchased directly from the company, that the company had purchased from this guy that owned the 3 counties that the franchises that I bought were located. And he had built 10 stores. And when they bought the counties back, they bought the real estate back. And when I bought the franchises, I agreed to lease those buildings. And the only reason why I did that is because that was during the time when the Dairy Queen Brazier was first coming into vogue popularity. And I made an agreement with them that the company was going to remodel those stores to include inside seating and a Razor food equipment line, so I could operate 12 months out of the year instead of 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. And thereby increasing my sales to the point where it justified all the extra costs of the inside seating and the selling food over the soft serve. So anyway, being experienced in that area, understanding that the idea for CBD as it's going to be growing is that the market is going to be so tremendous. But you know what I've realized about that CDB market? It's funny, but companies don't seem to have much originality or innovation in their people that are in their marketing, because they all know it's a hot product and they all know there's a lot of people going to be buying it. But they limit themselves in the way that they're selling it, because they're selling it into just a two or three or four areas, categories of retailers. Now, why would you do that? The answer is because they can't think beyond. That's the way the industry, I mean, that's where that kind of product has been sold in the past. So they figure that's where it's going to be sold in the future. And good luck to you when you try to compete with if you're selling CBD. Good luck to you if you're trying to sell in those categories like wellness places, workout joints, nutrition stores, uh, or any of those specified uh, uh, narrow market areas, consumer wise, where CBD can be sold. Thinking is they can be sold there because that's where the people that are going to buy it go, which is absolutely foreign to my thinking, because when you've got a product that half of the consumers in the United States are going to want or buy, you want to be able to make it as available as you can, not just limited to four or five places they got to go to get it. Now, I know they can get it on the internet, but that's why I've had to design my plan so that it gets around competing with those stores that want to sell on the internet too, because they can't follow my program even on the internet, and they can't if they're one of those categories of businesses that is presently being sold to by the CDB companies that are growing it, harvesting it, processing it, extracting it, bottling it, labeling it, branding it, and sending it out to the stores on a wholesale basis, and so on and so forth. I was in a nutrition store the other day doing some research, and you know what I noticed? I noticed four different CBD brands by four different companies in the same store. Now, you think about that for a minute. Here you got four companies that have gone to all the expense and all of the investment to create a CBD line and brand and market it and sell it to these stores. And the stores are selling four different kinds. And so the best you can do, if you're even competing with all the other three, is have 25% of the market in that store. That's the best you can do, because the rest of them now, if your product is supposedly better and it's got a better marketing approach and so on and so forth, you can raise that, but only in that store, okay, and only to those people who are interested in buying CBD products and they're in that store. See, limiting, narrowing, instead of the other way, which is what marketing is supposed to be all about, and selling is to sell into and market into the wider and wider and wider consumer market. So, to me, CBD is not for consumer purchase, but it is a product that qualifies for CBD low to no charge. CBD low to no charge. And I have a website. I have a URL web.com low dash CBD dash low dash no to dash no dash uh, uh, charge dash .com or .com. In other words, a dash separating all the words through. You see websites like that. And the reason why I've done that is to emphasize the fact that when businesses are all different kinds of categories of businesses, retailers in a local city, and organized by zip codes and categories that are selling their products, their categories. I call it business advertising by category. That's what they're buying. They're buying a category of advertising for their category of business, and it's just an exclusive. And the incentive program to do business because of my plan is built in on the progressive savings coupon concept of for continuous purchasing to get competitive, higher than any other retailers can offer discounts over continuing purchases at my independent approved stores in the zip codes where people live and where they work. So this is a premium award for being a loyal customer and buying from my business owners in the zip code or carrier out where you live. So it's easy because all of them are the same wherever you go in the city. So why would you run across town when you got one right in your zip code where you live or right where you work? If you're going out to lunch over where you work you're not going to run home to that particular zip code unless you're pretty close or you want to go home and eat and make it out of your refrigerator. I don't know if you got enough time for that. Most places don't give you that much time for lunch, so you got to go where you work. You got to go out in that zip code and find a place close by to eat lunch and get back to work on time. So, but that's what I do. I let consumers earn CBD products, and I take it one step further because the CBD industry today, as far as oil is concerned, has again been very limited in terms of innovation and providing a consumer package that is more tuned to the way they're going to use it, which is daily. See, because most of the CBD oils today, as you'll find, if you do research on it, or if you already know, comes in 1 or 2 ounce bottles with a little dropper. See, so they make you measure out your own little serving each time you're going to take it, and put it in your mouth and swallow it. And sublingually, if you put it under your tongue, where it's more fast acting. See, very limited in terms of innovation or exclusivity or original thinking. So that my CBD product, branded product, is sold in batches to retailers at single serving CBD single serving .com single serving package, so that when you're going to take a serving, which you need if you're taking CBD for, say, for example, pain, to alleviate your pain that you have in your joints or whatever, you're going to want to take it probably every 3 or 4 hours, and therefore that's a serving. And you don't want to. I don't think people like the idea of having to go to that bottle. First of all, you have to remember to shake, 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 shake as it settles out. They haven't designed a way yet to, I think it's called emulsify, so that the CBD oil doesn't separate out. And so you have to sit there and shake that bottle first before you get the dropper loaded up. And if you're taking a dropper, half a dropper, well, then you have to measure it out yourself by, and older people that tend to have more pain than younger people that are taking CBD. They're sitting there with their head shaking and they're trying to measure out that little bitty tube, even though it's, not totally difficult. It's not easy to do because I've tried it. And they say because it's got a little measuring line there on the dropper, and you've got to fill it up beyond that. And then you got to squeeze it down, the oil down till it hits that serving line, and then you can go ahead and take it. So, with my single serve package, you don't need to do all that. You just pop the top and drink it like it's a miniature glass of CBD oil. Now that makes sense. Sure, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So That's the story, and people go and they go where they're already spending money. That's why I subcategorize restaurants because people aren't going to eat the same food every day anyway. I don't care what the well, I don't hardly care what the award is if you do. To make it, and restaurant owners know this. So if they can get more customers away from other categories in their zip code that are the same category as they are. They're tickled pink with that because the average zip code's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in it. And the same way with carrier routes, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And if you got all of them, you couldn't handle them. So the idea is to get enough new customers to justify the discount to the so it does so you're able to while lowering the cost, you're still able to make more profit because of the volume. And if you don't understand economics or how the where the diminishing returns concept comes in, talk to a CPA and he'll straighten you out, or your CPA or bookkeeper, and they'll be able to show you where your average ticket, how it's affected when you discount over the average, how many new customers you have to get in order to justify the discount that you're offering to all the customers compared to what you're doing now to just the customers that you have that's producing your average ticket cost, to the point where you're still able to make more profit even though you have discounted each ticket to the maximum level that hasn't then affected your profit margin. In fact, increased your profit margin because you've increased your top line, even though you've offered discounts where you weren't before. If that, again, doesn't make sense to you, well, then you need to speak to your CPA or your bookkeeper, or better yet, talk to me and I'll help you through that. Okay. So that's the idea. Now, the other thing I've done that is totally unique and totally innovative and totally creative and totally original is that I have made a provision for the fact that only half of the people are going to want to buy CBD. So if your business plan, my business plan only spoke to that benefit, well, that excludes half of the people because they don't care about the premium. And they're not even going to be interested, probably enough that the discount's even going to attract them. Or if it does, they're not going to really care about the CBD product as the reason why they're going after the discount. So I call it CBD money, and I have a concept that I've developed called fungible benefits. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that the people that get the CBD money as an award because they continue to purchase at maximum discounts, but they're not going to want to use the CBD money for CBD, so they're able to trade those monies to the CBD customer who wants to buy CBD and get credit for doing that through other means of exchange of benefits that is good for them. Okay. So I've made it so that not just the CBD customers are going to want to be involved with purchasing at my approved business owners, but also the customers that aren't necessarily interested in the CBD award, but they still want to get the discount. So they're going to go to those stores and they're going to be able to use their CBD money that they gain as a result of continuous purchasing at my business owners in an exclusive way to get the discount progressively, continuously. And the fungibility of the CBD money is available to those customers who aren't going to use their award of CBD money and change it into some kind of an award that is of interest to them. Okay. So there you have it. Now, there's a lot of wheels in this little presentation that's been going on for an hour. Okay. And I don't make no apologies for that, because you have to think in paragraphs in order to think effectively. Otherwise, you can't get enough of words together in sentences to create a complete composite of thinking that represents any value, much value, a standard of value. So, I mean, take heart. Oh, because if you have questions, trust me, I can answer them. All you have to do is ask me. Now, right down below this video on my website, 7cities.com, 7cities.com, 7 spelled out, cities.com. Cities is plural. So it's SEVENCITIES.com. And you'll see, the first thing you'll see on that website is me right now, what you're looking at right now, the video. And below that, you'll see money events. And that's how you connect up with me in order to explain to you the benefits of being a Z-Mama associate, Z-Mama USA approved business member. Okay? So remember, ask me questions, I can answer them. And the way that you register to get answers is you fill out a little form. It's right down at the bottom of the webpage. Just keep scrolling down. It's down there right before my 7cities.com uh, 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 brand mask there, graphic that's below the form that you register for CBD news. Uh, and the only thing I need is your email address and your zip code. I'm not trying to get a complete profile on you. I just want to be able to communicate information that's beneficial to you. So that's the only reason why you only have to put in your zip code and where you live, okay, and maybe where you work. I can't remember how the form is set up, but and then your email address, and then in that way I can continue to feed you information, or you can get to set up a money events personal one-on-one with me on the telephone, either video or just audio, so I can talk to you and help you with any questions you have. All right. So that's the end of my CBD video today.